Hello, my name is Louis Kalish and welcome back to the Voice of Youth podcast. Today we have another very special guest, Adri Rivera. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on. Now, Adri, why don't you tell why you are here?
I'm here to talk about anorexia and eating disorders, as it's something I've struggled with in the past.
And what specifically is anorexia?
So anorexia is an eating disorder characterised by fear of gaining weight. People usually have a low body weight, but that is irrelevant as it can affect anyone of any body size.
Mm-hmm. And you first suffered with it at 13?
Yes, I was diagnosed when I was in year 7.
And just talk to us about that process, about how you grew up such an early age to experience something like that. How was it for you?
It was very stressful. It started off very simple as just wanting to cut down a little, lose weight to fit in. It was an all-girls school, so the pressures were pretty high. It was a slow process, but still very dangerous. And in the end, I was fainting in almost every class. So I was pulled out constantly, having to do private study in the library. The teachers didn't know how to deal with it. They weren't really educated on the subject.
Mm-hmm. And you had to spend time in hospitals as well, was that right?
I was in an outpatient treatment throughout year 7 and a little bit of year 8 to deal with that. And my first hospitalisation was in year 11, 2018.
Wow, so it's gone back a long way.
Definitely. The average process of recovery is 7 years for people with anorexia.
Well, before we get into it, congratulations. Obviously, it's a long road, but you seem to be making great steps. So why don't we get to basically the crux of it? Do you think maybe for young people, eating disorders, anorexia as well specifically, could be so common?
I think that society nowadays is pretty focused on what you look like, I guess. We've definitely progressed into that kind of environment, and especially with social media and lots of exposure, young people are constantly wanting to change their appearance and whatnot. Yeah,
it's funny because come from a male background, our body image is predominantly masculine, but then again I know many boys that also suffer with weight issues and having the perfect body and not wanting to look fat but not wanting to look skinny. So regardless of the gender, do you think that all these pressures is probably the leading cause in young people's eating disorders?
I think everyone has that kind of pressure to want to be more perfect, I guess. For girls especially, our current society, we all kind of believe that you can never be too thin. And that's kind of the problem.
Yeah, definitely a problem. Now social media as well, it's a big one, isn't it?
Because for sure, yeah.
Do you think that maybe people with, and this is big, there's many people out there, but with maybe a larger social media following or interaction levels, do you think they're a bit more susceptible to the pressures of social media and eating disorders and body image?
Of course, knowing that people out there are watching you constantly. I know many people can alter their appearance on the internet just by a little bit of Photoshop here. There's apps for it as well, You never really know if what you're seeing is real.
And this whole culture of photoshopping images and making sure that your body isn't right for yourself, but it's right for other people.
Yeah.
And do you think maybe this social popularity thing at school, do you think it's a big cause?
For sure. If you have more attention drawn to you, you're going to want to impress people, especially with certain characteristics as perfectionism, low self-esteem, the need for approval. Those are all things that characterise anorexia and mental illnesses.
And we talk about not just social media, but the media in general as well. It's gone back a long way, but gender stereotypes play a big role. How do you think the mainstream media, the news or papers or advertisement, help, well not help, but push towards that path?
I think seeing the TV constantly, watching celebrities and whatnot, they constantly have the pressure to look okay. The camera adds 10 pounds and whatnot, so they're wanting to slim down, and just seeing that even at a young age, being exposed to movies and everything, you can focus on those things that aren't exactly positive.
And we'll go back in to you now. If it's okay with you, what were there specific reasons for your experience with anorexia?
I think I just ever since I was little, I've wanted to fit in and I always had perfectionistic traits, in everything I do, whether it be schoolwork or arts. It's always been like wanting to have the highest grade or be the most perfect at something.
And that perfect perception is also physical, isn't it? Right.
Of course.
It's a difficult one because you want to, I guess, feel good, but at the same time, maybe feeling good means acceptance of others.
Of course.
We'll get back into the wider range of anorexia and media itself. Do you think that the media, and as young people as well, we have a responsibility to make a big change?
Of course. I mean, people can use social media for good things, bringing awareness to certain issues, but some people just use it to show off whatever they have, make people want to live their life and express themselves to be kind of perfect on social media, which obviously isn't true. It's all just a front. No one is perfect in real life.
No
one has their struggles.
Of course. And for countries in the Western world, do you think that there's much more of this culture of looking the perfect, being perfect?
For sure. I think that in other countries there's more important issues like health and making sure your family's okay, having enough food, and they don't really have time to worry about those things. I'm sure they also have those worries, but not to the level of our Western world, of course, where we are just... It's a selfish world, we're all worried about ourselves and how we appear to others.
But instead of worrying about others, the cause of it is actually us not being selfish enough and trying to take control almost of our body. So we've seen it time and time again through young people with anorexia, eating disorders, and other ones like eating too much food. Where can we change this? Do you think that maybe within schools, the education systems, or what's the first steps, do you think?
I think education on the subject is very important, because when I was in school, if someone had known how to take care of me, how to deal with it, how to help me face whatever I was dealing with, I think it would have definitely helped a lot.
And from your experiences, was there much within schools?
We had one of the ladies from PMH, their outpatient clinic, come into school and try and teach my teachers how to help me. It was quite helpful back in the day, but nowadays I think it's just there's not enough treatment in Perth, and we're constantly trying to build more to be able to help people with eating disorders. But at the moment there's only one eating disorder specific place, and that's private health.
And we know that private health is we're literally seeing in that place like America. There's no public health services, and it's just for people maybe that aren't as well off and they can't access it, could become a bigger issue. And we can talk about schools and the actual places, but as a wider range and a collective, do you think that there needs to be a culture change?
I think for sure we should focus on more positive things. Even just watching the news, nothing positive is ever really shown. It's always bad news here, bad news there.
And for example, with changing that body culture, should we encourage people to be more comfortable with their bodies?
Oh, for sure. Body positivity, body acceptance, there's the whole health at all sizes is very important as well. And
of course we still need to be careful though that, that obviously one step at a time, but if we make it too, body positive, there could be issues that, that need to be looked at, but maybe because we can't say because it's too body positive, so we need to find that balance, don't we?
Yeah, there's a lot of body shaming as well, especially with people who are overweight. It's when I was in hospital, we were taught the health at all sizes thing, but of course there is problems with being overweight, and that needs to be faced as well. Yeah,
just evaluate on that health of all sizes. What does that mean?
Oh, it means that people who are overweight can be healthy, people who are underweight can be healthy, but it's all about making sure you are healthy. Of course, there's unhealthy underweight and unhealthy overweight. It's about finding that balance and being happy with it, sitting in it and accepting yourself.
Definitely. And through your journey itself, did you find that within your treatment you saw people, more than less progress and get better?
I've seen people get better, I've seen people relapse, and I think as long as you're pushing through and not going backwards, then that's positive.
Yeah, and that's what we're aiming for. And it's not just you're eating too much or eating too less, right? We look at other possible, like you said, possible routes to down through like OCD, anxiety or depression. Do you think that the broader eating disorders need to not just be looked at an eating disorder, but a more broad mental health problem?
Eating disorders usually come hand in hand with something else. One is usually a face for the other, a front to help deal with it. It can be a coping mechanism, a very unhealthy one of that, as it's not only mental but also physically detrimental to your health. But it is commonly associated with like OCD, anxiety, depression.
And you talked about OCD as well. That was one of your causes, wasn't it? Right?
No, it was depression.
Oh, it's terrible. depression, but enough being perfectionist. Sorry, not OCD. Yeah. No, of course. It's just again from an outside perspective. Do you think that from my view, I certainly used to be naive about it, and I'm sure many people were as well. It needs to be looked at as a whole. Yeah,
people tend to look at eating disorders as like a way of getting attention or things like that, and it really isn't. It's got a very high mortality rate. It's the mental health condition with the highest mortality rate. So.
And talking about awareness of it, awareness in young people in the youth community, what can we do to make a change, or what have you had from the young people around you to help make change?
I think educating yourself on the subject is very important, because we're pushing to be able to educate people in school, but if that's not possible, then individuals to educate themselves, be able to spot the warning signs, to be able to help others if they ever do come across someone with an eating disorder, to know how to help them and not say things that could push them into a downward spiral.
What are some of those warning signs?
So one of the warning signs, I think, would obviously be a dramatic decrease in their weight. But it's not just that. It can be also mental. You could see them withdrawing. You could see them struggling with facing food. There's also people getting angry more easily, just being more irritable. There's also physical conditions such as constantly being cold, purple nails, bone density as well can cause osteoporosis.
So there's a lot, and as a community, if we can understand that, I guess it starts to change. Just your experience with the people around you, let's say more younger ages, was that education awareness there?
God, no, it wasn't. Definitely not. I ended up losing a relationship over my eating disorder just because he didn't understand what was going on. He thought I was just sick, doing it for attention, just being selfish.
And that doing it for attention, probably one of the most toxic things to say, right?
Of course. Also things like, oh, you look healthy, or things like that. People mean it in a good way. It just ends up making someone with an eating disorder think, oh, they think I put on weight, they think I look fat. Just
for those people that have experiences, what would you tell those people and how to approach it?
I think if you want to compliment someone with an eating disorder on recovering, you can say things that aren't physical, like you are beautiful, you are strong, you are inspiring, things like that. You are glowing, you are full of life now. Things that make you feel positive that aren't related to body image.
Yeah, things that you can't see.
Empowering things.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, just before we do get on, you certainly all of those things. So great to have you. Great to have you on once again. And speaking out about this stuff, we here are only trying to make this better. So if you do hear these things and see these things, please try and make a difference. From your own journey, what do you think were the key elements and support networks that you had?
I think my family was a big one. They were always there for me, even when friends came and went because of all of these things. They knew, they educated themselves, they knew how to support me, and also hospital helped a lot in weight restoration, which helps because someone underweight their brain's not fully functioning because their body's kind of more focused on keeping them alive. So getting back to a normal weight helped me clear my mind and...
so it's again having those close people around you.
Yeah.
But at the same time, close people that kind of educated or
Yeah,
know
that
what
know
to
how
say.
to help, yeah.
And it all starts with education
Mm-hmm.
and teaching. And did any of your friends, have they learned anything off your journey?
I think so, yeah. And I know that I've had people come up to me and say, I didn't realise that it was such a problem, and now I've gone and got help because I know that it's dangerous, and you inspired me to want to recover, things like that. Amazing.
Do you think that, as someone that's been through it, do you think maybe that you have a bit more of a power to change the perception and education around this?
I think experience is a very important part of being able to make a difference, because I can say I've been through it and I've come out of it, and be able to help other people do that as well.
And for people that may, be experiencing something, were there any things that you yourself, maybe little strategies or practices or stuff that you can do outside to maybe not, help, but just make you feel more comfortable?
I think taking it one day at a time, one meal at a time, and just trying to distract yourself during, afterwards, before, knowing that food is fuel and it's not going to hurt you.
Amazing. Adri, thank you so much for sharing all this wonderful information. We hope that you can inspire and spread awareness just as much as that we hope to do. For the people that are listening, there will be some charities and pages to help spread the information in some of our links, and Adri's socials will also be there. She has some really cool stuff on her story on her platforms. Adri, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
You've been an absolute delight. We hope that everything goes well. We hope to continue to get even better. So yeah.
Thank you.
Guys, thank you so much for listening to the Voice of Youth podcast. We hope everyone is well and safe, and we will see you soon. This Voice of Youth podcast was recorded on the 14th of August. Guys, if you enjoyed, please check out all our socials and give us your feedback. We're on Instagram and Twitter at Voice of Youth Pod, on Facebook at the Voice of Youth Podcast, and we're streaming on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and all your other favourite streaming platforms. Please, guys, enjoy the podcast, and we'll hear from you soon.